Hello world, my name is Simon from WhatCulture, and it's my job once a week to go through Raw, watch the show, and give the good bits an up and the bad bits a down. So we're basically reviewing Raw, and if you're an old watcher, how you doing? And if you're a new watcher, how you doing? Because I still care about your health. Doesn't matter whether you're new or old, as long as you're healthy and doing well, got a big smile on your face, everything's going to be hunky-dory. If you are new though, it's only fair that I let you know I'm well positive, so there may be a few things you're like, oh, I can't believe he said that. Even though that should make no difference. I mean, some people get really annoyed. Like, if I say I don't like something, that means they can't like that thing anymore. Like, if you love gherkins, and I'm like, oh, I hate gherkins, all of a sudden you think, oh, no, I can't like gherkins. And the weird thing is, I love gherkins. Anyway, let's get on with it. If the surprise of Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman coming out at the start of Raw wasn't there, I would have given it a down. But they did come out, it did save that segment, so it is getting an up. And that was a long way to get to an up. But still, it's an up. Some weeks it really is ridiculous that Raw feels the need to start exactly the same way. Every time Kurt Angle comes out, he's the GM, he kind of runs us down everything that happened last week, and then he tells us what's going to happen this week. And it's like, didn't we do this? Imagine you were Game of Thrones, and the opening was so similar to the previous week's episode, you thought, wait a minute, am I watching the same episode? You wouldn't like that, so Raw should do the same. Shake it up. However, Lesnar and Heyman were there. I did enjoy the fact they turned up, and they shook up the SummerSlam scene by insinuating that Kurt Angle is trying to screw Lesnar out of the title, and therefore if that does happen, Brock and Paul were like, well, if you do screw us over, we're gonna leave the WWE forever. I don't think they said forever, but I wanted to add a bit of hyperbole in there. Now, does that tie into all these UFC rumours with John Jones? Or is this just a way to make sure that if Lesnar does lose, he can be off WWE TV for a while? Because you know after SummerSlam, Brock's going bye-bye, because that's what Brock does. He's got the ultimate contract. But it was fine, added an extra kind of stipulation to the SummerSlam main event. I'm kind of starting to think, maybe I don't 100% feel Kurt Angle as the GM, but whatever, it was alright. And this all led to our first match of the night, which was Gallows and Anderson versus the Hardys, and it was a spot of delightful entertainment, so it's getting an up. It was a bit ridiculous, because Gallows and Anderson are the literal definition of an up and down tag team when it comes to going on some kind of a run. Because they never go on any kind of a run, and usually they lose. I mean, they get the odd win here and there, but more often than not they don't. But it did end up with a big brawl afterwards between Hardys, the club, and the Revival were there, and they're all throwing fisticuffs, and it was fine. It kind of, brought all these teams along. They'll probably have a triple threat at SummerSlam to become #1 contender. That's okay. Gets them on the card. They're all really talented. Everyone here really did push the whole broken universe stuff, or in this case, the awoken universe. Apparently Matt and Jeff have awoken. They did a load of the phrases. I have no idea what's going on with this anymore. One day, GFW or TNA, whatever the hell they're called nowadays, they're like, no, you can't have it. And then Matt and Jeff will be posting teasers on social media like, yeah, we've got it. I've got no idea anymore, so I give up. Still love it, still looking forward to it, but for now I'm just going to take it at face value. And speaking of tag teams, we did have the continuation of the story between Ambrose and Rollins, and will they, or will they not they? That wasn't right English or grammar. And it kind of got a bit, I don't want to say sexual, but they were there with their tops off, and it was all like, oh babe, please come back to me, babe. And then Ambrose was like, no babe, you're blackmailing me. But it is good. I like all the teases, so it's getting it up. But yeah, the point of it now is that Dean Ambrose feels obliged to help Seth Rollins because he feels like Rollins has manipulated the crowd. If Ambrose doesn't help him, the crowd will be like, oh, that Dean Ambrose, what a horrible guy. But deep down, Ambrose is like, well, I don't want to help him because he screwed me over. It's quite a complex story, all things considered, and I actually thought I did a damn good job there of explaining it. Pat myself on the back. Barry Horowitz. This all culminated, of course, with Ambrose coming out and helping Rollins after his match with Sheamus. By the way, that was a very good match, so that's getting an up as well. And everything now continues on to next week, where, please, for the love of everything, it finishes with Dean Ambrose turning heel. Turn Dean Ambrose heel. We've never seen it. It will freshen him up. And again, I would take a Rollins versus Dean Ambrose feud when the roles reversed. They work very well together. However, it did end with Sheamus and Cesaro leaving the babyfaces lying on the ground after they gave him a good smacking. So I'm guessing at SummerSlam, we are getting the former Shield versus the tag champs. And that's a good match. And unfortunately, I think actually Ambrose and Rollins will win. But again, as long as it ends with Ambrose going heel and you drag that story out as long as possible, Fine. Seth Rollins has new music too, where someone, and who this person is I don't know, screams out, "Burn it down!" That was weird. Unfortunately, that then brings us to another down, because we had the usual Cruiserweight stuff on Raw, and yeah, it's just a down. The 6-man tag team match was decent enough, and the whole Tozawa Titus thing is still entertaining, but this felt so much like someone going, "Oh yeah, we forgot we got to get the 205 Live guys on Raw." Just throw them all in there. Just throw them all in there. Make sure Titus comes out in his new top, his new shirt, so we can pimp that. And just like, maybe I should wind this forward, even though I'm watching it live. It's that classic thing of we're just going to throw everyone into one big segment, because then we can just get it out of the way. Sometimes WWE, you don't have to do that. It's not like you've got some major OCD where you think unless we feature the Cruiserweights on Raw, the world is going to end. I mean, that could happen. We don't know. But maybe give it a go once every week. And I'm also gonna have to give it down to Miz TV with Jason Jordan, simply because it certainly seems like the crowd is never gonna buy this Jason Jordan Kurt Angle stuff, which means it's been a bust. So yeah, it's a down. Jordan is already coming across as really flat, and that is not good news, considering right now we're only 2 weeks removed from what was one of the biggest stories in Raw in years. I mean, literally years. I can't remember the last time everybody was talking and excited about a reveal, and now we're here and you're like, is that it? The Miz was good, because these days The Miz is always good, and you'd have to believe that the IC title match at SummerSlam is going to be Jason Jordan versus The Miz, and that's great, because if we're trying to do something with Jason Jordan and we're putting him into a title program, that's only going to help Jason Jordan. And from now on, every time I say Jason Jordan's name, I'm going to use both parts, just because I've done it by accident, and it's making me laugh in my own head. I'm going to throw another down out there for everything they're doing with Bo Dallas and Curtis Axel, because I thought the whole point of the Miz-tourage was to get them going, and besides, they're a tag team. Raw needs tag teams, so why can't they be a group and Miz does the single stuff and Bo Dallas and Curtis Axel do the tag team stuff? But yeah, all this was just average, and average isn't good enough when it's meant to be one of the biggest stories of the summer. Which brings us to the Bray Wyatt promo. Now, if you do watch Ups and Downs every week, you already know what I'm going to say, you already know how I feel about this, but we're going to go over it again. But yeah, it's a down. And I'm sorry, I'm really sorry, I tried, but it is the same thing every week. Bray Wyatt comes out, he talks a load of nonsense, we're meant to like it because he's very good at speaking, but ultimately he says absolutely nothing. And yeah, you could accuse me of doing the same thing every week on this show, but that aside, as me, or I, or it, as a viewer of a TV show that is meant to be entertaining, this failed. I mean, what did he even say? He's gonna beat Finn Balor up because Finn Balor is putrid. What? What does that even mean? I did like the surprise appearance of Balor, especially because there are now teases that at SummerSlam it will be the Demon version versus Bray Wyatt, and given all the hocus pocus, that will be fun. But this was just empty, like an egg after you've cracked it open and cooked it up and eaten it. I don't even know what that means. I just didn't like it. I'm sorry. Again, I really am sorry. I try so hard. Not for me. And then from nowhere, we did get the triple threat match we've been talking about all week between Samoa Joe, Roman Reigns and Braun Strowman. What a surprise. It was really fun. It was really entertaining. It's getting it up. I do find it a bit weird because the finish went down as clean as a whistle as Reigns pinned Samoa Joe, but maybe, just maybe, that means Samoa Joe is going to win the title at SummerSlam. But either way, we've now seen 3/4 of that match. Why we do this? But look, it was entertaining. I had a good time, so I'm not gonna crap all over this. Those three guys, Strowman, Reigns, and Joe, are kicking ass right now. They're killing it. Salute for you. And then Elias, because he is just called Elias now, as WWE continues to reduce this man's name. Eventually, Elias is just going to be E. He's going to be like a Sesame Street character. Why, slaphead, why? But he did take on Kalisto, and even though it was a very average match, I'm going to give it an up, and the sole reason is this. They want to push Elias, he's being featured, and he's winning. Can't argue with that. If I do, I'm being a hypocrite, but it was a bit boring. So in that sense, not great, but, you know, I'm going to be nice, because I'm a nice guy. Also, I do hate it when WWE does these stop-start pushes and just take a guy and hurl them out the window, whereas the previous week they were doing all right. And also, with that in mind, if you're not going to do anything with Kalisto on the main roster, put him on 205 Live. Neville, Kalisto, that's good. And then we had all the women's stuff, and that did suffer horribly because of where it was placed on the show. I'm really sorry to say, that's getting a down as well. To start, as the crowd didn't care. Secondly, it was Nia Jax versus Bayley, and we've almost seen that 15 times in 2017. 15 times! Have a bit more creativity, please. But anyway, Alexa Bliss ran in and she got the better of Bayley, and the Jax-Bliss relationship took a few steps forward, and the other few steps forward were taken for Bayley versus Bliss at SummerSlam. I'm just meandering words now. I mean, it was standard stuff. Now, you may be sat there going, well, Simon, you've just made the exact same points for the Elias match and you gave that an up, so why do you give this a down? And the answer is simple. I actually care about the women's title, and at the moment it feels like filler. And as you know, if you always watch Ups and Downs, I hate filler. And that brings us to the main event of Raw, but it's not the real or the proper main event, because we know, if we look at ratings trends, that whatever happens at the end of hour 2, that's your main event, because that's where it peaks. But we got Big Cass versus The Big Show, and it was dreadful, to be honest. It was absolutely dreadful, so let's get it down. For starters, the promo that Enzo cut beforehand was awful, and it's rare that we say that, but it was awful, and in many ways, he was like the offshoot of Bray Wyatt. He said a whole lot of nothing, and he sounded stupid. And the match itself was rubbish as well. Big Cass had everything in hand, so Enzo jumped on his back, and that meant Cass got the win via DQ, and then Cass tried to beat up Big Show and Enzo, but Big Show knocked him out with the KO punch, and Big Show and Enzo just walked off together, holding hands. They didn't hold hands, but they may as well have held hands. This story has fallen so flat since the reveal, it's not even funny. And I don't really care about Big Show versus Big Cass at SummerSlam, which I'm guessing is where they're going. In fact, this is what you should do, WWE. Have it as a handicap match. Big Show and Enzo versus Big Cass, and let Big Cass win. If you've got plans for him, let him demolish these two, because these two aren't going anywhere. I know how you think. And let's be done with it. Let's move forward. Forget about this mess. So a bit of a hit and miss episode of Raw, to be honest, as WWE probably took a step back and went, man, we've got a lot of time before SummerSlam. We can't give away too much here, so we've got to take baby steps. But it was fine, it had some good bits, but it had some bad bits, and it was kind of just there. Probably not going to be as good as SmackDown this week, because that's got Nakamura versus John Cena. Now, don't forget to leave a comment below and let us know what you thought about this week's Raw. Like, share, and subscribe. Head on over to WhatCulture.com and read those Ups and Downs articles. And follow WhatCulture on Twitter at WhatCulture WWE. I am Simon from WhatCulture. The sun is out, you're feeling good, and if you're not, turn that frown upside down and go have yourself a merry little day.